Before we get started, just a quick note, spoiler alert.
And we are adults, and I will try very hard not to use adult language, but this is the warning.
One last drink. Okay, welcome to Last Library on the Left. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Serena. We're a horror review. We're a horror review and discussion podcast where we talk about horror in books, movies, and other formats, why we seek it out, and why we need it in our lives.
And today is episode 2 of our 13 Ghosts twofer. And we called this episode Monster Madness. And let me just...
You.
It's totally me. I told Serena I really wanted to do this. Because whether or not you are into sports, you've probably heard of March Madness, which is when college basketball teams are in there going for the title right now, the NCAA title. And already I think we're in the Sweet 16 of March Madness with the basketball. And already there have been like complete upsets where the people that are at the very bottom of the bracket are beating the number 1 and 2 seeds and stuff. Because like all this weekend, all of a sudden was March Madness is insane. I was like, wow.
I will have to take your word for that because sure.
Yeah. So now I also want to preface and say I don't follow March Madness. I actually don't participate in it. I do fill out the bracket every once in a while. I didn't do it this year because I've been super busy and we have our own bracket to deal with. But the fun of it is taking the bracket and filling out who you think's gonna win and seeing how far you go. It's always a lot of fun, even if you don't follow college basketball like I don't follow college basketball. Anyways, all of that to say that I wanted to do a Monster Madness with the 13 ghosts and I wanted to have them compete bracket style.
And I remember being like, yeah, sure. And then not really thinking about what that even meant or entitled or like the thought I would have to put into it.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, Jennifer's excited about it. It'll be great. Because I will see I definitely wage way more control over the podcast than I should, like what we read and watch. So it is not evenly distributed, guys. And so when Jennifer was like, I'm gonna do this thing, I was like, yeah, of course. And then I was like, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah. So, okay, we asked our friend Taylor to also put in her input, which she didn't give us her bracket at the time of our recording. So I'll just post it with her notes afterwards. And I guess what we can do is maybe go through the rounds, and within the rounds, we can go through the ghosts, like their little backstories, maybe.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Wait. Sorry, there's like a weird thing on my floor.
Do I need to end the call?
No, we're good. You're so rude.
Oh gosh.
Maybe what? Maybe you should. Why is my phone all of a sudden playing music?
That's very creepy.
I don't like that at all. It wasn't even up, by the way. When I did the home button double press, the app wasn't even open. It was just playing. You want to know what song it was playing?
What?
Ghosts by Lady Tron.
Okay, yeah, we're cutting this episode short. Bye.
We're doing 13 ghosts. My phone is so rude.
Your phone is really rude. I'm very offended.
I didn't even touch. Okay.
Oh man. Okay.
I'm gonna turn it off real quick.
That is so funny.
Okay, it's off now. So if anybody else wants to talk to me through my phone, apparently it's not gonna happen, hopefully.
If it turns on, it plays a song.
If it turns on, I'm ending the conversation. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta leave my apartment. Pack chainsaw up. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Oh god, it's too late for this nonsense. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So I don't have the 13 Ghosts DVD. I thought I did. But apparently on the DVD, that's where they give you the background of all the ghosts. And they have it to the point where they list them in order of malevolence. So the firstborn son is the first one. And I think this is also the way that they talk about it in the movie.
The further you get into it's supposed to become more dangerous.
Yeah. So the first one is the firstborn son. And this is a ghost of a little boy. His name is Billy Michaels. And he loved to play cowboys and Indians. And one day another kid challenged him to a duel. And the other kid used a real arrow, whereas Billy had a toy gun. And the other kid's arrow obviously killed Billy.
Yeah, which for some reason, I've got the feeling that the other kid was an older kid because the way it's described is that a neighbor taunted Billy into a duel.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that just seems like some older bully bullshit in the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was that Billy likes to play cowboys and Indians. And obviously, in this scenario, I think he was the cowboy,
Mm-hmm.
but he's always dressed up as if he's the native
Mm-hmm.
because
And
he
his weapon
has.
is the tomahawk.
Yeah, which is very interesting. So I was like, wait a minute.
So I have a theory about that, but let's finish talking about his background because I have a theory about
Okay.
that.
So Billy is not really a threat. He kind of walks around saying, I want to play. He doesn't really attack anyone. He sort of looks around. And in the movie, he wants to play with Bobby. And that's all I have for his background, unless you have anything extensive.
So I have a couple of other things listed in his background that while the other ghosts seem to be tempered by the spells on the sides of the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, Billy's the only one that can traverse on multi-planes. Like he can be sideways standing on the wall, he can be hanging from the ceiling. He seems to be able to traverse more easily through the spell work. Even though according to the rules set by the Zodiac that they have here, he should be one of the weaker, less malevolent ones.
Right, yeah.
Also, if you go by his comparable zodiac sign, it would be the Aries. And Aries are considered reckless daredevils, youthfully immature, which I think probably fits him pretty well.
Yeah. Although all the Aries I know, they're chaos.
Girl. So my theory, because there's a couple of times that he shows up and he does look like he may be wearing sort of cowboy-esque things, but a lot of the times he has those very stereotypical 50s, 60s toy costume renditions of what an indigenous person would look like. And it's like the headband with the feathers, or the streamers or whatever on either side, sort of that deerskin type look. And if his whole shtick was that he loved Western films and wouldn't allow anyone to even distract him from them, and he was determined to be the cowboy, had the fake gun and da-da-da. And so if you go off of that stereotype, especially the way that it was implanted in the American zeitgeist at the time, that cowboys were the heroes and the indigenous were the savages, whatever. Sort of like cops and robbers, but cowboys and Indians. So clearly good versus evil. So if he was playing the quote unquote good guy as the cowboy and then he died, maybe his bitterness, his resentfulness, his bound spirit took on the persona of the native.
Ooh.
And that's actually why, because he doesn't act very scary,
But no,
he's
he doesn't.
Still very imposing.
Yeah. I have a couple of things that are side notes when I was doing my research. And I thought, now, okay, this is knowing full well that there is an original 13 Ghosts and this is the remake. But I was like, is he based off of the Chucky series? Because Chucky would be like, before Chucky the doll became Chucky the serial killer, his animated self would say, hi, I'm Chucky, want to play? And I was like, is this Chucky?
Interesting.
But again, I know that there's an original and I didn't get a chance to watch the original. So I could be completely off, but that was just my 2 cents. And that's because I love campy 80s horror. So that's where my mind went immediately.
And of course, classic for me, I haven't seen any of the Chucky movies.
Oh man, he's a hoot. That Chucky.
I found it interesting that you put him up against the Broken Heart though, because I felt like it was a no contest. I was like, clearly the firstborn's gonna win because apparently not. That face of yours. Okay, let's just keep going through the line then of like the torso is next, right? Okay, because now I'm like excited. I was like,
I'm so excited now.
Literally the only note I have is the Broken Heart has a big X over it, and firstborn, I just wrote duh.
This is gonna be fun. Before we get into the bracket, let's move on to the next one, the torso. So the torso, in his living life, Jimmy the Gambler Gambino, he was a gambler in the early 1900s and caught the attention of the mafia, who, if you know, they were very big around that time. He lost a bet, didn't have the money to pay up, and the mafia cut him to pieces. That was my bad, mafia. And they dumped him in the ocean so he could live with the fishes.
I didn't put that together.
So, okay, when I saw the name, because like I always know him as a torso, and so when I looked at it, I was like, Jimmy Gambino, I was like, oh my god, could they be more obvious by naming him after a popular crime family? Like, come on.
Oh, see, I thought it was like Gambino, like gambler.
No, the Gambino crime family, the big mob family.
That didn't even occur to me.
I was legit. I was like, why did they do that? Like, why did they name him after the Gambinos? If he was a Gambino, he would be in the mob, not getting the attention of the mob.
Okay, this is completely unrelated to the movie because when I was reading his backstory, I was like, ugh, what are they accomplishing by not collecting on their debt and murdering someone and putting yet another target on them for the cops or whatever?
Right?
What does that accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, because the only other thing is like he could be a lesson to others, but unless you did it publicly,
Yeah.
and that was nowhere in any of my research that he was publicly killed.
No.
And it never said that they got any money from him. So
Now, granted, hey, y'all are just gonna have to be used to me talking about a lot of astrology, especially in this episode, because it's all astrology, it's zodiac. But as a Capricorn, we're known as being hardworking, but like money driven, you know. And I won't deny it, even though I like have lived my life at or below the poverty level most of it. But if I were in some position where somebody owed me money, I would not waste the time putting myself in danger by murdering them. I would find ways to recoup my losses otherwise. Murder would not be one of them.
No. See, and I mean, if we're going according to the zodiac, there are not many Capricorns that I know of that one would throw their money away like this. Because you're right, they are very money driven, the ones that I know, but they're also very good with managing their money.
And that's the thing is that Gambino is actually a Taurus, and Tauruses, they value materialism above all else, which is weird because both Taurus and Capricorns are earth signs. And so like Capricorns are money driven, but Taurus are materialistic, whatever. But you would think being down to earth would like have more than that. But they're also known as lazy sign. So
yeah, I mean, I guess he fits a Taurus. I don't know why I thought it was Capricorn, but I guess.
No, I'll let you know when we get to Capricorn. As I was going through this list, I was like, wait, hold up. Which of these ghosts is Capricorn? And then I found out and I was like, I'm all right with that.
I don't want to know which one is a Scorpio, but okay.
I'll tell you. Because I looked it up too for you.
That's rude. That's just because they say zodiac, but I didn't even think that. My mind went a completely different way. Rude. Okay, the bound woman is next, and her name was Susan LeGros. She was the richest girl in town, very popular, cheerleader type, and played around with the guys. I don't want to say promiscuous because I don't want to do that, but she was. And on prom night, she was killed by her ex.
No, her current boyfriend.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be at prom with Chet.
Yes, but she was cheating on him.
Around with somebody, somebody else.
And Chet, star quarterback, killed her.
And the guy she was cheating with.
Oh!
Yeah. So what I wrote down was when Chet caught Susan with another boy on prom night, he clubbed the boy to death before tying Susan up and strangling her with his tie, breaking her neck.
Dude, why isn't he here? The jilted ex, I would love to have seen him there too.
Right.
But okay, that's really funny. And for her, I was like, oh, that's Carrie. And I was like, no, that's not Carrie.
Oh, interesting, because I connected her to someone too. The thing that I have written down for her is that one of the things that I thought made her dangerous was that she is the only ghost actively luring Bobby. And that to me like smacks of like really malevolent intentions to go after the child specifically.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out if it was her being cruel because she is cruel or her being cruel because she was sort of mocking the withered lover.
Oh,
like, you're here too. You're not any better. Yeah, you're not any better than us. I'm gonna get your boy too.
Yeah.
But the thing I connected her to is not Carrie. I thought she reminded me a lot of the mom who killed her daughters from The Darkest Night. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially the way that she went after Bobby.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, that really changes it up.
Right?
Dang it.
I warned you, I was gonna go psychological. I was gonna go deep.
Yeah. You went deep. You went really deep. I went full 80s horror. Okay, so next we have the withered lover, which is Jean, and Jean is probably the most recently dead of all of the ghosts.
Yeah.
And she is the main character, the dad's wife, and she is mother to the kids in the house. And she died as a result of fire injuries in the house. And I want to say she died not too long before they got into the house. Like what, maybe like
I think they said 6 months.
6 months.
Colina said that she was earthbound for 6 months.
Yeah, there we go. And she's to me the least dangerous of all of them. I guess because she's so new, she's just trying to help her kids stay safe in in the house.
Which makes sense. So there's two things about her character that really stood out to me. She was one of the few ghosts that didn't actively seek vengeance against Cyrus, even though she was probably the only one to have just cause, because it's alluded to in the movie that Cyrus targeted her to be the withered lover. I mean, you could extrapolate that he murdered her or orchestrated her death. So she has the most reason to seek vengeance against him, but she doesn't. Now, her zodiac parallel is Cancer, and Cancers are emotional, motherly, intuitive, caring, and sensitive.
Oh, okay. That matches her. So next we have the Torn Prince, and the Torn Prince was Royce Clayton, who was a famous teenage baseball player. Before he could make it to the major leagues, he was set up and ended up dying in an accident caused by cut brake lines. It says that he was buried at the baseball diamond and his ghost carries a baseball bat, and that you could also find the car in the background, which I didn't look closely enough to see it, but
when the lawyer's walking around in the basement, he's leaning up against his car.
Oh, okay. Now, Royce Clayton was one thing that we talked about previously, that was actually a famous baseball player who played for various teams, including the Texas Rangers. So I don't know if that's where he was named after. And I don't know if these characters have different names in the 90s version or the 2000s version as opposed to the original version. We're just going off of the one that we just recently watched and reviewed.
I did notice a couple of interesting things about his ghost that I really wish we'd learned more about. Obviously, his weapon of choice is the wooden baseball bat that he uses to attack whoever gets nearby. But his baseball bat seemed to generate an electrical current as well. Anytime he struck something, there was always sparks.
Oh, yeah, there were. Yeah. That's interesting.
So I wanted to know what aspect of his haunting or his death was causing the electricity, the sparking. Did it have to do with the way that cars spark when they are grinding on like the street?
Yeah.
You know? Because the car is also part of his haunting. And if the car is part of his haunting, does that mean that his car is also a potential weapon as well?
Oh, that really changes things up.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, girl, I was pulling all these people apart.
You really were. You really were. I went based off of just pure violence.
No, I was like, what is in their scope as a ghost? What is at their disposal? At his disposal, theoretically, he's got 3. He has a wooden bat. It produces an electrical charge or some type of like metal spark, and his car.
Yeah, the car could really be a good weapon. Okay. What's his zodiac?
Oh, I turned off my phone.
Okay, never mind then. Never mind. I actually planned this weekend to like dive into a little bit more of astrology and numerology because I just listened to, and that's why we drinks episode on numerology.
On numerology, yeah.
And I was like,
that was a good one.
That's so fascinating. I gotta like figure that out. So next we have the Angry Princess, which I was kind of bummed when I read her backstory. I was really kind of sad. So the Angry Princess is also known as Dana Newman. She was very beautiful, but also abused. And she had plastic surgeries to alter her perceived flaws. And a botched experiment mutilated her, and she killed herself in the bathtub at the clinic. Her ghost is often naked, and she is very bloody, and she carries around the same knife that she used when she committed suicide. And she's heard saying, "I'm sorry." And I was like, that's so sad. And then I thought, is this Anna Nicole Smith?
Oh.
And I was like, no, it's not.
Oh.
But that's where I went.
Of
course, I was waiting for you to pull this one apart because you seemed very zeroed in on her. Yeah, you seemed very zeroed in on her.
Okay, so one of the reasons why she like got into abusive relationships was because she already had like a lot of self-loathing and low self-esteem. It says in her bio, doctors tried to save her from. I assume they mean psychiatrists, not the doctors that helped her with body augmentation, because the doctors helping with body augmentation clearly didn't. Well, I shouldn't say that, but the botched procedure was her trying to perform a procedure on herself, and she blinded herself. That pushed her over the edge. But she's the only ghost ghost listed to have a strong hatred for living people. So like there's something psychological going on there.
Yeah.
Whether she hates the vitality of people or that people exacerbated her self-loathing and caused her to kill herself. I don't know. She was interesting. The Torn Prince would be a Leo, which like just the most vain and okay, no offense to Leos out there, but like I don't get along with a lot of Leos, traditionally speaking. They're vain, they have a lot of pride. They're the epitome of like the male lion in the pride, but like is useless and does nothing, and all the women do everything. Whatever. Sorry. I don't mean okay, Leos, I'm sorry.
I love how you went from Torn Prince could like triple threat with the car and the baseball bat and the electric spark to Leos.
Look, I got problems with Libras too. Well, that's a whole other conversation I've been having with my friend Anna. So it explains his rash behavior with like how readily arrogant he was in life and kind of bitter after death, not to generalize. But the angry princess, that would make her the Virgo, the virgin.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would have pegged the withered lover could have been easily categorized as the virgin character, right?
But no, it's the angry princess. She's the Virgo.
That's interesting. Ooh. Because the fact that she's categorized as angry and she has disdain for living people, why didn't she get Shannon Elizabeth's character in the bathtub? Because she's obviously connected to the bathtub. We know that that's probably her bathtub that Cyrus put there.
So I do have some theories about that, and that's actually what my next few bullet points.
Oh, yes, I'm excited.
So I think that there's a duality to her personality before and after death. She seems to be bitter about the loss of her beauty, but she's also pissed when the lawyer points out the beauty. So like this loss of its tangible existence, but then like having it being used against her, which it like drove her to death.
Yeah.
But when she finds Kathy in the bathroom, and theoretically the bathroom she died in, because there's this theory that Cyrus just took the whole damn thing, and she's watching Kathy as Kathy just this scene I remember so vividly, because Kathy, all she did was like preen in the mirror but move the same pieces of strands of hair over and over and over, and it seemed so vapid and empty and vain. And she watched her and kind of watched her and then looked back at herself, and it made me think, when I was watching the movie, is she watching Kathy and thinking, what a waste you are, like you're so beautiful but look at you preening? And she's like, I did this too, and look at what it led to. And like it's just generating this bitterness in her, but like this connection that she feels to Kathy. And if that is what could have been occurring, is that why she wanted to attack Kathy when she was doing the bath, to be like, this is your fate anyway, you're just like me, we're the same? Or was it like, you're so beautiful and you don't even appreciate your beauty, and so I'm gonna take it from you? Does she see herself in Kathy? Is she seeing an opportunity to kill herself again in Kathy? Because sometimes spirits do that. They'll act out against the things that that already drove them to their deeds.
Ooh, I like that theory.
She's also one of the most vocal of all the ghosts. She's not the only one has a vocal or whatever before she shows up, but she has multiple phrases. I'm sorry. And then apparently when she was watching Kathy in the mirror, you hear someone say, what is she doing?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, and that's where it makes me think that she's seeing an opportunity to kill herself again. But then I was like, does she regret her choices or her vanity in life? Does she hate Kathy for being like her, or some measure of her? I don't know. There's also something that I took into consideration for her in the bracket, which is where she seems to have the most influence over the environment she's in. Because no matter where she is, the containment cube, the bathroom, wherever, it is covered in blood.
I wonder if it's because he has her actual bathtub in there.
I wonder, but she definitely seems to have the most control over the environment, whether other people are perceiving it or not.
Interesting. Ooh.
Yeah.
I really, really was fascinated with the Pilgrimess.
Okay, good.
Which is our next one.
We're getting into that.
Okay, because I was like, I know Sedina's going to come through with a Pilgrimess, so I'm just going to give the basic Wikipedia summary. The Pilgrimess is Isabella Smith, who was an orphan in England and came to North America to find opportunity, I guess. I don't know.
A better life.
Right, yeah. And unbeknownst to her, the community that was there were going to accuse her of witchcraft when crops, animals mysteriously started dying off. She denied these accusations and was trapped in a burning barn. She escaped, but because she escaped, that probably sealed her fate. And she died of starvation after being condemned to the pillory that she carries with her as a ghost, and her skin is badly damaged. Man, I don't know why she wasn't so far down on the list, because if I was a ghost, I would get that whole community, but okay.
Yeah, I agree, because some of the aspects too of that whole scenario you described. So it wasn't just that she was accused of witchcraft because her arrival coincided with the local livestock, whatever. It was the local preacher that accused her. And when she denied the accusation and she like tried to stand up for herself, the preacher fell ill. So of course the whole town was like, well, he accused you of witchcraft. And then you were like, no, I'm not. And then he got sick, clearly.
Oh,
Okay, I can't
my
even get
eyes are
into it.
rolling really hard,
Yes.
y'all.
And then the town turns on her and they corner her in a barn, and they set fire to the barn that they cornered her in. And because she escapes without injury, which apparently affirms their suspicions, it says that she was sentenced to a slow, painful death at the stocks, where children stoned her, women cursed at her, men spat at her, and eventually she succumbed to starvation. That's like, yeah, like you said, I'd have been pissed. I'd have fucked up that whole town.
Yeah. So, okay, when I was reading about the Pilgrimess, you haven't watched the Netflix Fear Street series. Okay, the Fear Street series goes in terms of years. So the first movie is 1997, I think. The second movie is 1976 or 1970 something. And then the last movie is 1666. It was the Puritan period. And what happens in the Pilgrimess is very similar to what happens in 1666, but it takes a whole nother turn. And every time I was reading about the Pilgrimess, I was getting so frustrated and so angry because I kept seeing the plot of 1666 in my head, and I was getting so angry. And then I was like, if only this was a Fear Street novel so I can like go back and watch it and be satisfied with what happened afterwards.
Okay, so she would coincide with a Libra. Libras are fine, but they're an air sign. They're not steadfast in the decisions that they make. And Libra has a few interesting aspects to it. Libra is the only inanimate object represented on the zodiac. It's a scale.
Yeah.
But a scale is constantly moving, weighing options. So Libras are marked as indecisive and just yeah, things that Capricorns don't naturally get along with. So I wonder if part of the issue with where she took a chance and went to the new world, to quote unquote new world, to find, because white people discover everything, to like make a new life for herself. But she did it as a single woman, which wasn't necessarily uncommon, because there was a point in time in colonial America where they were encouraging single women to come over because they needed to breed. And but the fact that she came over, tried to start a new life, there were aspects of her story that were up and down and indecisive. I don't know. I just think like she maybe does fit the Libra, and maybe that's why she's not as vengeful as she could be.
Ooh.
If she were another sign, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if you're gonna kill me over being a villain, then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be a villain. You know?
Yeah. Oh gosh. See, you know the story, the whole colony of Roanoke and the mystery behind that. I was like, what would it have taken for the writers of 13 Ghosts to be like, she was the reason why that happened? She came back as a malevolent spirit and she took out the whole community. It's a missed opportunity, I feel, but that's neither here nor there.
You know, in this, the Pilgrimess, she's a little older, so I wonder if it was because she was like an older unmarried woman. And they're like, she must be a witch.
Of course, yeah.
How dare she have the funds to be able to support herself to the new world and start a new life? She must be a witch. You can only get that by fucking the devil.
Yeah. God. I really like the Pilgrimess. I wanted her to go all the way, but she didn't.
Yeah, I really wanted the Pilgrimess in general to be more of a mad bitch. You know?
Me too. I want her to be a true badass. And I was like, I'm kind of sad of where she was placed on the narrative of harmful to not. Because I was like, she could definitely go in right before the hammer. Like, I feel like you could have switched the Great Child and the Dire Mother and her and then made her just a little bit more malevolent.
I think so too.
Speaking of which, we're down to the Great Child and the Dire Mother, who I grouped them together because they were together in the films.
Well, and they kind of seem to act as a pair.
Yeah.
Because Harold is kind of described as, I mean, not only childlike, but kind of passive until provoked.
Well, and Margaret is his mom. So, which, you know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna go off on them. I get so upset when I hear their story because I'm like, just like, "Urgh." So I get why they're put together, but the dire mother is very docile. She was shy. She was short.
And she's listed as 3 feet tall.
Yeah, she was very meek. She couldn't stand up for herself. And apparently, they lived at a freak show and she was raped by the tall man, which that's another scary figure, but
Yes.
and that rape produced her son Harold, and she spoiled him, loved him to the point where it was harmful to him, I feel. And they were both abused. Margaret was killed, and it says that she's not aggressive. She's more of a neutral spirit. But Harold, of course, being the son of a helicopter mom who babied him, he was an adult who was also a child. He wore diapers, he was spoon fed, made baby sounds. So obviously he was ridiculed, teased, mocked. And after his mom died, it says he caused a massacre at the old freak show where he and his mother, Margaret, lived. Some of the freaks kidnapped and killed his mother as a joke, which that's not a
So
joke.
the way she died though, like, so they apparently kidnapped her and stuffed her in, I assume, a burlap sack, because the image I see in my head, but
Mhm.
because of her size and the sack and where she was stored during the kidnapping, she suffocated.
Okay,
So, like,
okay,
the
okay.
killing I don't think was supposed to be part of the joke, but the kidnapping should not have been part of the joke either.
Right. I was like, that's not a joke, but okay. That's like frat humor, I feel.
Yeah.
And after his mother was killed, Harold went on a killing spree himself and killed a lot of the members of the circus. It says that the circus owner had Harold mutilated, and in death, he looks very similar to where he was in life, with a bib covered in vomit, diapers. His weapon is the axe that he used to kill when he was alive.
So I had a couple of other bits and pieces that I pulled for them. The Great Child is listed first, which would make him a Scorpio.
That's rude. That
I'm
is
sorry.
so rude.
I'm sorry.
But also, I understand the killing.
Well, because Scorpios can very quickly go from,
Yeah.
and I am speaking as someone who both little sisters are Scorpios.
Mhm.
The only thing that the Great Child does not represent as a Scorpio, the Scorpio in the zodiac is known to be the most sexually deviant of all of the zodiacs.
Yeah.
Although apparently the Capricorn is the thirstiest, which, okay. Sure. I don't know how to feel about that. But so there was a theory that I read that one of the reasons why the Great Child was the way he was not just because his mother babied him, but because the likelihood of whatever genetic disability, like the genetic makeup of a mother who never grew more than 3 feet, that she was treated as a living doll, she was blind naturally in one eye, like the things that create that genetic soup, mixed with the tall man who raped her, who was also part of the freak show and had a genetic soup that was not necessarily made of the strongest stuff, theoretically, that between the two of them, they probably made a child who had mental disabilities or functional disabilities, things like that. So even if the dire mother had not spoiled him and not treated him the way she did, he very likely would have wound up in the same situation. Which kind of pissed me off about the way that they're centered, and if they're supposed to get more aggressive the way it goes on, then Harold is really just Lenny from Of Mice and Men. He's unaware of his size, he's unaware of his strength until he hulks out just like Lenny. And the mom, I read some people consider the dire mother the most evil of the zodiac because she allowed her child to grow into that. And I was like, that's fucking rude. Because if it was a genetic abnormality, it couldn't have all been her fault.
Right. No. And see, and I feel like when I was reading about how she conceived Harold, I was like, she's obviously going through trauma. She is raising her son through trauma and not getting the help for it because, of course, mental health matters. But that was my whole thing, was that she was just raising her child through a traumatic experience and doing the very best that she could, but also trying to shower him in love because he wasn't made in love. I don't know. That was just my whole idea, but very rude that he was a Scorpio. I'm quite offended.
Now, this is the other part of him that is very Scorpio, though, is to go from like being kind of like childlike and whatever to going to a rage fueled thing.
It
I
happens.
can definitely account for that for my sisters. And apparently during his murder spree, he not only killed the circus workers involved in the kidnapping, but just killed whoever whoever was in the vicinity
Yeah.
because of a blind rage. And I was like, that tracks. But the thing that got me was that he placed their remains on display in the freak show for the paying customers to come see.
Yeah, that tracks too.
I mean, I love you guys, but y'all are psychopaths.
Yeah.
But
I don't
so are
get mad
Capricorns.
often, but when I do, whoo, buddy, it's yeah. And I don't care who is nearby.
Yeah, everybody becomes collateral damage.
Yeah, I'll apologize later. Maybe.
The other thing that I found interesting about the Dire Mother and the Great Child is that the original death idea had been that in his state, he got to a point where he started choking on his food, which is why there's vomit and everything all over him. And he suffocated on his own vomit, and he fell on the Dire Mother and suffocated her.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that would have put him up a little bit higher.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But I think that Harold's rage and Harold's protectiveness of his mother is what put them so far into the lineup.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're completely harmless.
Yeah, because listen, I completely forgot about those two.
Yeah, right?
When they showed up, I was like, where did they come from? So they were completely forgettable. I mean, I won't forget them now, but
the Great Child is Scorpio, but the Dire Mother is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is an interesting sign because I don't think the Dire Mother fits it, which might be why they didn't list it. But Sagittarius are known as, astrologically speaking, being the most emotionally detached of the signs. And so they can be kind of sociopathic, which is not the Dire Mother at all.
No.
But you know who is a Sagittarius? My brother from episode 19.
Which I would have thought your brother was an Aries. I'm just saying.
Or a Leo. Damn, I need to back off.
Wow, you just like threw that dagger out there.
I'm sorry. It has to do with really bad experiences I've had with like the particularly aggressive men that have come on to me have always been Leos. And so I'm just like, I don't want anything to do with you. Whatever. I'm sorry. Okay. So now that I have shit talked some of the zodiac. Oh God, I'm so sorry. The next sign is the Hammer, and that is Capricorn.
Oh, that's funny. So let's go through the Hammer's backstory a little bit. So the Hammer is George Markley was falsely accused. Gosh, I don't want to get upset when I do this.
Do you want me to do it? Because I have
please do it.
Let me talk on my fellow Capricorn real quick. First off, he is listed as honest and hardworking. Yes, of course, he is hardworking. That is a Capricorn all the way around. He was blacksmith. He was wrongfully, and then I put in parentheses, or intentionally accused of theft by, and so I didn't name the guy, even though his name is available on the internet. I just named him as a